Hello, Steve White, Steve RC9. Well, we are heading into the fourth week of the mushroom trial. I have been following it, but I haven't been doing like a weekly update like I was planning to, because it's been a bit complicated and a bit dry, and a lot of testimony about mobile phones and pinging from towers and mushrooms and mobile phones and so forth. And it seemed, look, full disclosure, I think she's guilty. I'm not trying to be remotely objective. I'm not a journalist. I'm not a news source. I'm just a person with an opinion talking about things that interest me. I think she's guilty. I think it's very obvious that they showed her appearing to be lying about owning a dehydrator. She said she didn't. Disposing of it when she said she never had one. Well, she said she bought one like years before, but she had it right there and then and had disposed of it like afterwards. She had two mobile phones, was switching between phones and did a factory reset apparently, allegedly, and just a bunch of things to delete data and so forth, allegedly. She was in certain areas where death cap mushrooms were reportedly found, allegedly. There was some argument that, well, maybe she was actually not in that area, but the signal just pinged off that tower and all this sort of stuff. It's just sort of obvious to me that she's guilty and that she made a lot of mistakes and did some things that were kind of clumsy and obvious. And I was just thinking about how hard it is to kill someone today. It's really difficult. Like, I remember the good old days, like people like, the freeway killers and the Night Stalker and the Boston Strangler and all these sort of people. Even back to the 90s with the Belanglo Forest murder, serial killer and everything. It was just a lot easier to kill people back in the day. We didn't have mobile phones and towers. We didn't have apps and locations, and we didn't have CCT everywhere. We didn't have people with cameras everywhere photographing and videoing everything. We didn't have everything recorded to the extent, like once upon a time, even in the 90s when they started to have a lot more cameras around, you still couldn't be totally sure what the person was there and what they were doing. Whereas now everything's documented. There's no doubt what she did. They know exactly what she did. They know where she went, what she bought, when she went to the toilet, just everything. And not that I've ever thought of killing anyone, but like, it's just not something you can get away with these days. I mean, unless you're really lucky, and you're out in the middle of nowhere, and just, I mean, I just don't see any way to do it. I don't know how people get away with murder these days. There seems to be so much evidence and so many obstacles to get past. Once upon a time, you could just pick someone up on the highway, because they used to hitchhike back then, and take them to the bush, kill them, bury them, and no one would know what the hell happened. And maybe they find them and there's no evidence, there's no nothing, unless, now we've got DNA evidence, and it's kind of, I'm not trying to be ghoulish, but it's kind of boring now. Once upon a time, there was mystery. You had to sort of work out how someone did it. It was like Murder, She Wrote, like how did they do it, putting the pieces together. Now it's just all science, and we don't have those serial killers and those sort of iconic, disturbing sort of people with those murder trails, because people either get caught really quickly or they don't even try, because there's so many things that should get in the way and stop them. And it's mostly like passion killings, and when people impulsively kill someone out of jealousy or rage or something. That's usually now how murder is. It's not, we don't have serial killers and people planning and plotting out people's murders like we used to, because it's just too complicated and there's too many things that can get in the way. And I mean, there's plenty of old cases that haven't been solved and old cases that are interesting, but there are not a lot of new cases. I mean, there was that gay killer in Canada who had been doing it for a while, and maybe had been doing it in like the 70s and 80s and retired while he was married and had kids, and then when he was single and divorced again, went back to it. That was a little bit interesting, the way he lured people, but even that, they knew exactly what he was doing at certain points, and he only got away with it for some sort of reasons, like people using apps and dates and people specifically going after types of sex, and he got away with one or two of them, mostly because the police just didn't care about the victims. They were looked at differently. So it's not that the information wasn't there and the technology wasn't there, they just didn't care, in my opinion, allegedly, supposedly, because they were gay, and they were supposedly men who were having dangerous, kinky sex, and they'd been accidental sort of, things. And that's something they've always used as an excuse. It's either suicide or an accidental sex thing, whereas usually it's a hate crime and murder. But once they started looking into it, it unraveled pretty quickly. So I just found it interesting, just the difference between killing back in the day and killing now, how hard it is. And they just don't make them like they used to. You don't get serial killers and killers like you used to get in cases like you used to have. And it's not as interesting now. It's not as interesting trying to work out what happened. It's kind of all there. And trying to commit a murder today and just fumbling over all these things that she did, it's just like kind of understandable but kind of sad. Yeah, I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of the whole thing.